Rev up your engines! Here's a Mazda CX-30, which technically is a sub-compact crossover SUV. It's got little junk in the trunk. It's short, right? But you gotta consider, he bought this thing for 24 grand, a brand new vehicle for that price. And even though it's all-wheel drive, it gets 25 miles a gallon on the highway driving it around. So when we go under the hood, you're gonna see what I like. It's a 4-cylinder inline engine, and it's 2.5 liter. As you can see up here, 2.5 liter. Now, it's a nice size 4-cylinder. It's 2.5 liter. This isn't one of these crappy little 1.5, 1.4, 1.1 with turbo, maybe 3 cylinders instead of 4. It's a good sized engine. He took the beauty cover and he threw it away. He's got the land of the rising sun here for the Japanese car, but alas, he was fooled. As we open the door, there's the sticker. What does the sticker say? Manufactured in Mexico. Well, now we know why it was only 25K. It's cheaper to make them down there, right? Now, on the plus side, they're not building the engines there. They come from Japan in big boats. It is still a Japanese vehicle. You know me, I'd rather have one made in Japan. But the price that he paid, consider the average American new car today is $45,500 as of today. So, for about half of the price, you got this thing. Beggars can't be choosers here. You can't have your cake and eat it too. If you buy a Japanese-made vehicle, generally you're going to pay quite a bit more for it. A little bit higher quality, and you're just going to pay more. But he's got no engine problems with it, no transmission problems with it. The only problem is, he's like me, he's getting a little bit long in the tooth. So he ran into his neighbor's basketball court. Did a little crack here, but as he told me, he's got a Persian rug, and he said the Persian rug makers always made a little mistake when they're building them, right? Well, he made this mistake, Mazda didn't. He likes my floor, because in his floor, this is where his Persian rug sits. He drives on top of it with his Mazda. But on the other hand, it doesn't leak anything either. If you notice mine, my stuff, well, actually, not. My Yamaha motorcycle, of course, it doesn't leak, so it's on the floor. And my wife's Toyota Matrix doesn't leak anything. Look, it leaks nothing at all. My wife's Matrix wasn't made in Japan either. It was made in Cambridge, Ontario. The Canadians do a pretty good job building vehicles. I even had a Ford Maverick that was made in Oakville, Ontario. And it was a great vehicle. I paid $550 for it. Drove it all over the place. Let's go inside and check this baby out. Now, as you can guess, he has dogs. And they get the car really dirty. So this is just a seat cover he put on. The actual seats are underneath here. They're nice seats, but he didn't want the dogs destroying them. Black and silver, it's, you know, it's nice. And when we start it up, it's a new car, of course it starts right up. And you can shift it automatic, or you can put it manual and shift it up and down yourself. Got a killer sound system you can adjust, but I'm not messing with it because then people will complain about me using their music. And for once, I like the simplicity. Sure, it's got a push button to start, most do, but look at the heating system. Very simple. You just push the button, shows where it's going. Here we got AC, here we got heat, and there's the speed. I mean, you can't really argue that. Simplicity. You can set it. It's a little too hot or cold, you can adjust it. No digital nonsense. And as you can see, driving it over here, he's getting 27.9 miles a gallon. 2.5 liter, 4-cylinder, all-wheel drive vehicle. That is pretty good gas mileage. There's no arguing that. 25 grand is 25 grand these days. There's no sunroof, which I don't care. I never use them anyway. Nice alloy wheels. And it is a subcompact crossover. So, yeah. It's got a relatively small trunk, but then again, you start flipping all this stuff down, you can make a lot more space. Sounds nice and solid. We check out the back seat. It is subcompact. There's room, not outrageous amount of room, not totally tiny, but it is a subcompact crossover SUV. Now let's get in, take it for a little spin. Oh, I really like this cool phasing in there. That is cool, I gotta say. They did a nice job with it. That's got a backup camera. It does a pretty good job. Not gigantic, but it's an economy car. Now, being a subcompact crossover SUV, there's a lump here. Let's see what happens. It didn't drag. It's high enough to go over the big hump. And I have to say, it's a pretty typical subcompact crossover SUV. You're going to feel bumps when you're on the bumpy, just like in my wife's Matrix. You feel the bumps. The ride isn't the greatest, smoothest ride in the world. They're fine when you're on a smooth road, but when you hit bumps, you're going to feel it. It's a subcompact. You know? You can't expect miracles here. So let's come up to our little stoplight. What kind of acceleration this little thing has. After all, it is a Mazda zoom, right? Here we go. And it does zoom. I gotta say, 2.5 liter engine. It's got plenty enough go. And as we come to a turn, we'll speed up a little. See how it handles turning. But we can't because there's too much traffic. So we'll wait till the next one. All right, here we go. We'll speed up. Went over the bump. Yes, you feel the bump, but it handles perfectly well. It's got a nice ride. Fun little car to drive around, I gotta say. When you consider a price point of 25 grand, you don't get much these days for 25 grand. In this case, I'd say you probably get all your money's worth. Realize that Toyota's got a big deal going. They own a bunch of Mazda now. So they got a lot more quality in them and a lot more Toyota technology than they used to have. You can see, you don't have to worry about passing people in this car because it's a 2.5 liter engine. It's not a little dinker. But at the same time, you want something that's got enough zip, it's going to last a long time. Don't buy a little bitty turbo engine. Buy a bigger 2.5 liter engine like this that can handle it probably 2 to 3 times as many miles you'll get out of one of these than you will with a turbocharged smaller engine. And of course, being a subcompact, you're going to hear noise when you go over the road and bumps and stuff. These aren't all that well insulated. They're a lower economy car. But I got to say, they're fun to drive. And I certainly would buy something like this long before I'd buy a Nissan. A Mazda CX-30. It's an interesting vehicle. He hadn't had any problems with it, per se, other than him running into the basketball hoop. He's holding up. He loves the all-wheel drive. He lives in Massachusetts by a river where it snows a lot. Never gets stuck with it. Take my advice. If you are thinking about buying one of these, really, you're better with the bigger 2.5 liter engine, not getting the turbo. It's just going to last longer. Because basically, what do people buy these little economy cars for? Economy, and they want them to last a long time. We'll see what happens as time goes on, but I predict this thing's going to last a really long time if he doesn't smash into more things. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Stephen Duckett says, I got a 2000 Chevy. What's the best way to replace the motor mounts on it? The motor mounts, of course, hold the motor to the frame of the car. There's hardly any working room, right? So basically what you got to do is all the motor and transmission mounts, you got to take the bolts off. If you have a cherry picker, pick the engine from the top. But most people don't have an engine puller or a cherry picker, we call them. In that case, what you do is you get a 2x4 and you make one that fits like right under the transmission and oil pan, and you jack it up. Once the bolts are off, you can jack it up high enough that you can remove the mounts. The reason I say all of them, because you got to move the whole assembly. You can't just take one off. You can't change just one by just taking the one off, because you can take the bolts off, but it won't move. You got to take them all off to get it high enough, to get enough clearance to take them off, and then bolt them on. And while you're at it, when you do have it jacked up, look at them all, because if one's cracked, maybe a whole bunch of other ones are, and you need to replace them all. Safest way and easiest is, of course, to get a cherry picker, an engine picker, and there's parts on top of the engine that you hook a chain to and it holds it up, and then it's real easy to work on that way. If you're serious about working a car, I got one I bought for $130 at Harbor Freight Tools. It works fine. It's just steel and a jack that's built into it. They're not rocket science to build. They are handy, and mine's cool because it folds up, so it doesn't take up much space in the garage. It folds up. And if you don't want, you can rent them too. But heck, for what they charge for rent for 3 or 4 days, you can buy one at Harbor Freight. Hi, it's Scotty. Doing a full left turn from a dead stop. My car needs more gas to move. It drives normal otherwise. 04 Infiniti all-wheel drive. That means that when you're making a left turn, something's a little bit off in the all-wheel drive system. Maybe the joint on the left side is somewhat worn and it's dragging it some. That's generally what happens. All-wheel drive systems are very, very complex. And when you turn full turn, a lot of times they do that. Now, I'll give you an example I had, and it just kind of shocked me. I had a customer with F-150 four-wheel drive, right? You put it in four-wheel drive, and it did that. And it only had 1,500 miles on it. It just was built poorly. In your case, it's probably worn somewhat. Check the joints, make sure the boot isn't ripped and the grease has come out, make sure the fluids are all full. But if it just does it then, and there's nothing you can see broken, no fluid leaking, no ripped boots, as they age, a lot of all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive systems, when you go full stop to one side, you got to give it more gas because they'll drag a little as they age. I see that a lot. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.